Hey guys, this is going to be the second video in the advanced series, HueForgeU, and we're going to talk today about something that I know a lot of people don't play with at all, don't touch at all, which is brightness compensation. What is brightness compensation? What's it set up for? And what's going on with it? So, first things, brightness compensation is something that I added very early on when I started making my own meshes. And the big thing I found is that, especially for lithophanes, I wanted to shift everything to brighter so that I had more control on the bright side where I was putting the whites and the light colors before I got too dark and I couldn't adjust color. So I often use Bright Enhance 1 for lithophanes, but since then my understanding of how these work has changed quite a bit. And in fact, if I were to go through this and do this again, which, spoiler, I am, I would be changing the names of a lot of these. So let's talk about brightness compensation and what it's doing. So the standard brightness compensation, I have a graph here I'm going to show you. Standard brightness compensation is this middle red line. There's a whole lot going on here. Let me turn off a bunch of these. Brought these all up in a tool called Desmos. It's a really good graphing calculator, effectively, for your web browser. So this is what standard brightness compensation does. So the x-axis here is your luminance value, and the y-axis is how tall the mesh is going to be. And so it's this is, you can see, it's a slope of 1. If you remember your high school geometry or algebra, this is a line with a slope 1. If you go 1 to the right, you go 1 up, and so forth and so on. Now these are actually tenths, and this whole area is 0 to 1. So this vertical is 0 to 1, but what that really means is however tall your mesh is. If your mesh is 3 millimeters tall, this is 0 to 3 millimeters, or minimum thickness to your maximum depth is what this range covers. So this is standard. Standard does nothing to help you with anything. The first one I made after that was this Bright Enhance 1. Now, I called it Bright Enhance 1 because it makes the whole image brighter. But really, in a lot of ways, it should be called Dim Details 1. So why do I say that? Because if you notice, this graph goes up very quickly. So for that same 1 unit of X, that we want go, this is going up more than 3 units of Y. So that means that in the very, very dark areas of the image, you have a lot more layers. You have a lot more vertical height going on. And that means that if you do have some detail in there, it's actually easier to represent that detail. Let me show you an example of that. I'll bring up my HueForge. This is a standard kind of portrait. This is AI generated, so I'm not showing off someone's kid. So this is what would be considered a low-key, high-contrast image. And in standard, I'm going to show you, when I move this black up, it moves up here, it moves pretty smoothly, right? But down here, it jumps. I get big, huge steps. You see this kind of steppiness here. You get all this banding here. Even though in this image, it's almost black, you get these big bands here because each step is not very much height, but it's covering a lot of the image. So, there's not that much height for this change in darkness and brightness. Now, if I go to Bright Enhance 1, you can even see immediately, first of all, it's brighter. So that's why I called it Bright Enhance 1 in the first place. It's brighter. But you can actually see now that even at this height, I have much tighter steps. So these bright enhances are really good for curves going into shadow. They're going to give you a lot more detail around the curve going into shadow. But let's go back and look at it again. You notice it's real steep here, and then it starts shallowing out here. Now, this one's not too bad. It doesn't actually do too much shallowing out, but obviously here we're going 1 unit over, and we're not going a unit up. We're going up, to 2/3 of a unit up. And so as we get closer to the top, we have the same problem we had at the bottom, which is we're going to get a little bit more steppiness at the top. And you'll see that in here as well. Like if I move this slider, right, you can sort of see that as we get near the top. Now I'm using a low TD white to kind of, or a high TD white with a low TD white on top, like that video I did the other day, how to use whites more effectively to get more detail here. But the point is that the top is going to be a little bit steppier, though not a lot. But the bottom here is going to be significantly more detailed around the edges. Bright Enhance 2 is a similar idea. It's similar idea, but it actually makes the top a little bit different. Let me show you. It's kind of, you take this curve and you flip it over. This is bright enhanced 2. See, it's kind of the opposite. It's still steeper here, right? But it comes in much more, it's steeper for much longer, and then it flattens out very much at the top. So it really is, if you mirrored this along this line here, you mirrored bright enhanced 1 along this line here, that's bright enhanced 2. So it's the same idea. And if you see that, but this acceleration is not as much. There's not as much detail down here, but there is more. And it lasts longer. And then as you get to the top, it flattens out and much more aggressively flattens out. So if I just turn on bright enhanced 2 here, you can see I'm already blown out. Well, let me bring this up. Sorry. Oh, I'm in static depth, so that makes no difference, but I'll bring this up. So I get here, we start jumping much faster, and it's much flatter. But in the middle, we still have more detail than we had before. Let me pull that out, bring the black. Actually, see, we have a very nice gradual shadow here that we didn't have before. And then if we want it darker, we keep a pretty gradual transition. So I actually often like bright enhanced 2 with faces, specifically because when you get the highest reflections on the face, it's one step, and so you get more of a shadow line than step effect. So I find that bright enhanced 2 is often good for faces, but not quite as good for shadows around edges. But here, if you have a pretty sharp transition, it's still quite good. All right, now what about the dims? In many ways, dim 1 and dim 2, they're exactly the opposite, right? They are literally the opposite of these two, same way. So dim 1 is the opposite of bright enhanced 1, right? Around that, where it is much slower. You can go quite a ways in X before 1 step in Y. In fact, it's the opposite. You have to go over 3 steps in X to go 1 step in Y. This is part of how the whole image the brightness gets brought down. So this one, dim 1 and then dim 2, again, they're the exact opposites, are mirrored around the standard line for this. So in dim 2, you're gonna move faster through this section, though it is still much slower, and then there's an inflection point where all of a sudden at the bright areas you get very fast transition up to the bright areas. Now obviously there's issues in an image that's already dim, right? If it's already dim, then this image becomes very dark. And we may not be able to bring black down far enough. You see here, you see the step size here, this is dim 1. You see that when we get it black, see how much of the face is already gone? And then it just jumps. Like, we literally don't even have steps that you can see until we get to here. So you totally basically blur away all of the low end. Now with dim 2, remember the shape of the curve, dim 2, you're going to get a few more steps down here, but not much. You get 1 more step down here based on the height of this image, right? Now we had to bring this slider way further down to get the face. Same thing with dim 1. Slide, though dim 1 actually, it doesn't need to go back down quite as far to work, but again, you've got that kind of similar issue where you're basically, if you have a really bright image, so this is actually better for more of a high key image. If you have a high key image, and this is one that's fairly high key image, see, we're actually kind of blown out here still, even with dim 1. So now we have more control. If we bring the black up, we have less detail at the bottom, remember, and more detail at the top. So we can kind of bring this in and set this high key to look pretty good. And you see some of the dimmer areas here are going to be kind of steppy, but all the detail is up here in the bright area, in the high area. We go dim 2, you'll see that we can, everything needs to be adjusted a little bit. And here you see the steppiness across the face in dim 2, and that's because of the way that they differ. And so for some images, based on its content, dim 2 is going to be better, and for some images, dim 1 is going to be better. This one, clearly dim 1 gives you a much smoother blend. You do still see some stepping over here, but in general, it's a much smoother blend. What is bright dark enhance? This is actually an interesting one. Let me go back to Desmos. I'll show you what bright dark enhance looks like in Desmos. It's actually a 2-part algorithm because of the nature of how it works. It has to be done in halves because 1/2 has to be what ends up being a negative square root, and we're not working in imaginary numbers, so we have to negate that result. But in some ways, bright dark enhance should be called middle detail enhance, because the way this is set up, this region is the region of fastest transition. So if you had something with really strong, intricate midtones, this would be a good way to get access to those. You're going to be slower off the bottom, so there'll be less detail on the bottom. You're going to be slower on the top. There's less detail on top. Your detail is in the middle of the image. Um, and again, I named these when I kind of thought what I wanted them to be doing, but I didn't have a good example. I didn't have a good use for them, or I didn't know exactly what they're doing. I didn't bother to go and graph them. I just put them in. Now that I've been graphing them, I'm doing a whole lot more work on them. But let's look at what bright dark enhance does here, right? We can bring the black in, but we're getting big steps of black, right? We can bring this up. But this is like, it's very blown out at the top. It's very there. This image doesn't have, again, because I'm doing a high contrast image or a more high key image, bright image. There's not a lot of details in the middle. Same thing here with the low key image. Let me bring that one in again. There's not a whole lot in the middle that we want, right? It's kind of an awkward situation here. This mode is very specific to very specific use cases, and honestly, I have to test through them and see. But for the most part, I use standard, one of the bright enhances, or one of the dims more often than the bright dark enhance. Now I am working on updating these. I'm working on making them clearer, actually putting that image of the curve so it's easier to understand what it's doing, and allowing you to set their power. So instead of just being a bright enhance, it would be a bright enhance with a power to it. So you'll be able to see how much power, or you can increase how steep the slope is at the beginning, or how steep the slope is, or how flat it is at the end. So hopefully this is interesting to you, helps you understand what these brightness compensations do and how they could be useful to you when you're doing a HueForge, especially when you find an area that is very chunky, and it's either a big chunk of one color or a big chunk of another color, and you really want a smoother blend. You can play with these brightness compensations to get much closer to what you want. And once you understand that, you've taken your next step to becoming advanced at HueForge.